The deep space exploration vessel Hermes drifted silently through the darkness of uncharted space. Captain Elena Reyes stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display showing nothing but empty void in all directions. The ship had been mapping this sector for 3 weeks now, and the crew was growing restless with the monotony of their mission. "Captain, I'm picking up something unusual," Communications Officer Park said suddenly, breaking the silence. His fingers moved quickly across the control panel as he adjusted the settings. "It's faint, but there's definitely a signal out there." Elena moved to his station, her interest piqued. "What kind of signal?" "It's not matching any known pattern in our database," Park replied, his brow furrowed in concentration. "But it's structured, definitely artificial." "Send the coordinates to navigation," Elena ordered. "Let's check it out." The massive engines of the Hermes hummed to life as the ship changed course. The crew buzzed with excitement. After weeks of emptiness, they finally had something to investigate. Dr. Amir Hassan, the ship's xenolinguist, joined Elena on the bridge. With his expertise in deciphering unknown languages and communication systems, he would be essential if they had truly found signs of alien life. "What do you think, Doctor?" Elena asked as she showed him the signal pattern. Amir studied it carefully. "It's repeating, but deteriorating. If I had to guess, I'd say it's a distress call that's been broadcasting for a very long time." As the Hermes approached the source of the signal, the ship's sensors detected a large object drifting in space. The view screen zoomed in, revealing a massive vessel unlike anything they had seen before. Its hull was made of a strange crystalline material that reflected the distant starlight in beautiful patterns. But large sections were damaged, with jagged breaks and dark dead areas spread across its surface. "Life signs?" Elena asked anxiously. The science officer nodded. "Faint but present. Environmental systems appear to be functioning at minimal levels." Elena made her decision quickly. "Prepare a boarding team, full environmental suits, medical equipment, and first contact protocols. I'll lead the team myself." An hour later, Elena Amir, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Maya Wong, and 3 security officers floated carefully through a damaged airlock into the alien vessel. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing corridors made of the same crystal-like material as the hull. The walls pulsed with a weak blue light that seemed to follow their movements. "The atmosphere is thin but breathable," Maya announced after checking her instruments. "Temperature is very cold, about -20 degrees Celsius." They moved deeper into the ship, following the stronger readings of life signs. As they turned a corner, they saw them. The first aliens humanity had ever encountered in person. They were humanoid, standing about 7 feet tall with slender bodies. Their skin was a pale blue that glowed faintly from within, creating patterns that shifted and changed. Most striking was the crystalline exoskeleton that covered parts of their bodies like natural armor. But many of these crystals were cracked or broken, and the aliens themselves looked weak and malnourished. When the aliens noticed the humans, they reacted with immediate terror. They backed away, some making high-pitched sounds that echoed painfully in the humans' ears. One tall alien with elaborate crystal formations on its head stepped forward, placing itself between the humans and the others. It raised its hands in what seemed like a defensive posture. "We mean no harm," Elena said clearly, even though she knew they couldn't understand her words. She motioned for her team to lower their equipment and step back. Amir moved forward slowly, his hands open and visible. He began making simple gestures, pointing to himself, then to Elena, then to the medical supplies they had brought. The lead alien watched him carefully, its luminous eyes blinking rapidly. After several tense minutes, the alien cautiously mimicked some of Amir's gestures. It was the beginning of communication. Over the next few hours, through a combination of pictures, gestures, and the universal language of mathematics, Amir established basic communication. They learned that the aliens called themselves the Zathuri, and that their ship had been drifting for what seemed to be years, running on emergency power only. Maya examined some of the injured Zathuri who allowed her approach. "They're starving," she reported grimly. "And these crystal structures, they seem to be part of their biology, not decorations." Many are damaged. Through his improvised communication, Amir made a disturbing discovery. He turned to Elena, his face pale even through the visor of his helmet. "Captain, they're afraid we're going to hurt them," he said quietly. "From what I can understand, they've tried to contact other species before us. But instead of helping, those aliens attacked them or drove them away." Elena looked around at the Zathuri. There were perhaps 100 of them on this section of the ship, many injured or sick. Some were very young, others very old. They were clearly refugees of some kind. "Tell them we're here to help," she said firmly. "Show them the medical supplies, the food. Make them understand that humans don't leave others to die in space no matter what they look like." Slowly, as Amir continued his efforts at communication and Maya offered medical help to the most seriously injured, the tension began to ease. A small Zathuri child approached Elena hesitantly. It reached out a slender hand and touched her suit, leaving a faint trail of blue luminescence on the material. Elena knelt down to the child's level and smiled. The child's crystals glowed a bit brighter in response. Back on the Hermes, Elena called an emergency meeting with her senior officers. "Their ship is beyond repair," the chief engineer reported. "Life support is failing. They have maybe 2 weeks before critical systems shut down completely." Elena nodded, her decision already made. "We're taking them with us. Contact Earth Command and inform them that we've made first contact and are bringing refugees in need of immediate assistance." "Captain," her first officer said cautiously, "we don't know why they were shunned by others. There could be reasons." "There is no reason good enough to leave an entire species to die," Elena interrupted firmly. "Whatever their story is, they deserve a chance to tell it, and humanity will be the ones to listen." As the Hermes prepared to take the Zathuri on board, Amir continued working with their leader, whose name sounded something like Kelvash. Through their developing communication system, he learned one phrase that chilled him. The Zathuri referred to themselves as the broken people. Humanity was about to learn why. The massive hangar bay of the Hermes had been transformed into a temporary shelter for the Zathuri refugees. Medical stations, food distribution areas, and sleeping quarters filled the space that normally housed exploration vehicles and cargo. Captain Elena Reyes watched from an observation deck as Dr. Maya Wong and her medical team moved among the aliens, treating injuries and providing nutrition supplements. "How are they doing?" Elena asked as Dr. Amir Hassan joined her at the railing. "Better," Amir replied. "Their bodies respond well to the nutrient solutions Maya created. The younger ones are already showing increased luminosity in their skin patterns." Elena nodded. "And the communication?" "Improving by the hour," Amir said with genuine excitement in his voice. "We've developed a basic translation matrix. It's not perfect, but we can now have simple conversations. Their language is fascinating, part verbal sounds, part light patterns from their bioluminescence." "What have you learned about them?" Elena asked, her eyes fixed on a group of Zathuri children who were cautiously interacting with some human crew members. The children's crystal formations glittered as they moved, catching the light. Amir's expression grew serious. "Their story is troubling, Captain. I think you need to hear it directly from Kelvash." An hour later, Elena sat in a conference room with Kelvash, the leader of the Zathuri. Up close, she could see that the elaborate crystal formations on his head and shoulders were damaged with jagged breaks and dull patches. Despite this, he carried himself with dignity. 2 other elder Zathuri accompanied him, along with Amir, who would help with translation. "Thank you for meeting with me," Elena began, speaking slowly to help the translation process. "We want to understand your situation better so we can help your people." Kelvash's inner light pulsed as he spoke, his voice a melodic series of clicks and tones. The translation device Amir had created converted his words to English. "First, we offer gratitude," Kelvash said. "Many cycles we drift, many calls for help ignored, many ships see us then leave. You are first to help. Why would others ignore your distress calls?" Elena asked. The light patterns under Kelvash's skin darkened. "We are the broken people, the dangerous ones. the carriers of destruction. These names others give us. One of the other elders, a female named Tilara according to Amir's introduction, spoke next. Her crystal formations were more intricate but even more severely damaged. Once, long ago, our people were part of the Great Alliance of Worlds, the Galactic Concordance, she explained. We traded, shared knowledge, lived on many worlds. Then came the Great Darkness. Tilara described how, approximately 200 years earlier, a mysterious technological plague had swept through several worlds in the Concordance. The plague affected artificial intelligence systems and neural networks used by many advanced species, causing devastating crashes and failures that killed millions. The Concordance sought the source, Kelvash continued. They discovered that when our biology, our crystal structures, interacted with certain technologies, it triggered what you might call a data virus. The virus was not visible until it spread widely. You mean your people accidentally caused this plague? Elena asked carefully. No, the third elder, Vandrel, spoke for the first time. We were victims too. Our own systems also failed. Many of our people died. But later, we learned terrible truth. Vandrel explained that the Zathuri had been secretly modified generations earlier. Their unique crystalline biology had been altered by an unknown party to serve as unwitting carriers of the data virus. When this was discovered, fear and anger spread rapidly through the Concordance. Despite evidence that we did not know, that we could not control it, the fear was too strong, Kelvash said. The Concordance voted to exile all Zathuri from their worlds. Our ships were stripped of advanced technology. Our colonies were evacuated. We became wanderers. For 2 centuries? Ilana asked, horrified. Tilara's lights pulsed sadly. At first, some worlds showed mercy. They allowed us to settle in remote areas away from technology. But fear spreads like virus too. New leaders would come to power, old stories would resurface, and we would be forced to leave again. Each time our numbers grew smaller, our ships fewer. The ship you found us on is the last, Kelvash said simply. 2018 souls remain of a species that once numbered in millions. We are the final generation of the broken people. Elena sat back, trying to process the scale of this tragedy. Have you found a way to fix this issue? To prevent your biology from affecting technology? Yes, Vandrel nodded. Many generations ago, our scientists created safeguards, crystal harmonizers that prevent the dangerous interactions. We have shared this knowledge with each world that took us in. But fear is stronger than facts. The real tragedy, Amir added, having listened to the entire conversation, is that our preliminary tests confirm their story. The Zathuri were genetically modified without their knowledge. It has all the hallmarks of biological warfare. Someone used them as living weapons and then abandoned them to take the blame. Elena stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at the stars. When she turned back, her expression was determined. What you've experienced is unacceptable, she said firmly. No species should suffer such treatment, especially not for something beyond their control. I'm going to recommend to Earth Command that we offer your people sanctuary. The 3 Zathuri elders looked at each other, their light patterns shifting rapidly, and what Amir had learned was their way of expressing strong emotion. You would risk the anger of the Concordance? Kelvash asked cautiously. They are many. Worlds very powerful. Humanity isn't part of this Concordance, Elena replied. We make our own judgments based on facts and compassion, not fear and prejudice. If they have a problem with that, they can take it up with us directly. For the first time since coming aboard, the crystal formations on Kelvash's head glowed with a bright, clear light. There is a saying among our people, he said softly. When the universe turns cold, seek the unexpected sun. He bowed deeply to Elena. It seems we have found that sun in humanity. As the meeting concluded and plans were made to bring the Zathuri to Earth's territory, none of them could know the diplomatic storm that was about to break when the most shunned species in the galaxy found protection under humanity's unexpected wing. The red Martian landscape stretched out beyond the thick glass of the observation dome. Inside, the climate-controlled environment of New Armstrong Colony hummed with activity as humans and Zathuri moved through the main plaza. It had been 3 weeks since the Hermes had returned to Earth's solar system with its unexpected passengers, and the decision had been made to temporarily house the refugees on humanity's largest Mars colony, while diplomatic channels sorted out the situation. Dr. Amir Hassan walked beside Tilara, the Zathuri elder, as they toured the hydroponics section of the colony. The aliens' crystalline structures had begun to heal, showing new growth where there had been jagged breaks. Her inner light pulsed with curious patterns as she observed the rows of plants growing under specialized lights. "Your people grow food without soil from homeworld?" she asked, her voice translated through the small device Amir had developed. "Yes," Amir replied. "We've learned to adapt and create environments where we need them. I think that's something our species have in common." Tilara's light rippled in what Amir now recognized as their version of a smile. "Perhaps this is why you understand our plight when others would not." Their moment of cultural connection was interrupted as Captain Elena Reyes approached quickly, her face tight with concern. "Amir, we've got a situation. The council needs us immediately," she said, nodding respectfully to Tilara. "Your presence has been requested as well, Elder." In the colony's main conference room, Earth's diplomatic team sat facing a holographic projection of 3 alien figures. The aliens had gray-green skin with ridged foreheads and wore elaborate robes adorned with complex symbols. Amir recognized them from briefings as representatives of the Galactic Concordance, the first official contact between humanity and the Interstellar Alliance. Chancellor Zhang, the head of Earth's united government, stood as they entered. "Captain Reyes, Dr. Hassan, Elder Tilara, thank you for joining us. The ambassadors from the Concordance have brought some concerning messages." The central alien figure spoke, its voice translated by a system similar to the one Amir had created for the Zathuri. "We repeat our formal protest against Earth harboring the contaminated ones. Your actions place your entire species at risk of quarantine." Chancellor Zhang maintained her composure. "Ambassador Vextor, as we've explained, we've found no evidence that the Zathuri pose any threat to our technology. Our scientists have verified the effectiveness of their crystal harmonizers." "Naive assessment," another ambassador said dismissively. "The data plague they carry can remain dormant for years before activation. The Concordance has unanimously voted to impose immediate economic sanctions on all Earth territories if the Zathuri are not removed from your system within 14 standard days." Elena stepped forward, unable to contain herself. "Removed to where exactly? Their last ship was barely functional when we found them." "That is not our concern," Vextor replied coldly. "The safety of the galactic community takes priority over the fate of biological weapons." Tilara's light dimmed at these words, but she stood straight as she addressed the ambassadors. "We were victims, not weapons. We have shared all our research proving our innocence. The true perpetrators were never sought, because it was easier to blame us." "Your claims were investigated and dismissed centuries ago," Vextor said. "This matter is not open for debate." After the tense meeting ended, Earth's leadership convened to discuss their options. Scientists, military officers, and political leaders filled the conference room, their faces grave. "The sanctions they're threatening would cripple our outer colonies," the economic minister warned. "We've only just established trade routes with 3 of their member worlds. Losing those contracts would set us back decades." "So we just give in to interstellar bullying?" Elena asked angrily. "Send 2,000 innocent people back into space to die?" Chancellor Zhang raised her hand for quiet. "Our scientists have been analyzing the information provided by the Zathuri about their genetic modification. Dr. Kellerman, please share your findings." A tall woman with silver hair stood and activated a holographic display. "We've confirmed that the Zathuri were indeed modified approximately 300 years ago. The changes to their crystalline structures appear designed specifically to interact with quantum-based computing systems common in the Concordance at that time." She highlighted a section of alien DNA that glowed with an unnatural pattern. "This is not evolution. This is deliberate engineering. The Zathuri were weaponized without their knowledge. Have you identified who might have done this? Chancellor Zhang asked. Not conclusively, Dr. Kellerman admitted, but the technology signature suggests it was someone with advanced capabilities, possibly within the Concordance itself. The room erupted in conversation at this revelation. When order was restored, Admiral Chen of Earth's Space Command spoke up. We should also be aware that 3 Concordance warships have entered the outer solar system. They claim to be a diplomatic escort, but their weapon systems are fully operational. Chancellor Zhang absorbed this information silently, her face showing no emotion. Finally, she turned to Kelvash, who had joined them midway through the meeting. Elder Kelvash, I must ask, knowing that sheltering your people may lead to conflict between Earth and the Concordance, would you consider leaving voluntarily to prevent this? The conference room fell silent. Kelvash's crystals dimmed as he considered the question. When he spoke, his voice was heavy with resignation. We have been running for 2 centuries. We have seen our children born in space, never knowing a homeworld. We have buried our dead in the cold void between stars. He looked around the room at the human faces. If you ask us to leave to save yourselves, we will understand. It would not be the first time, nor likely the last. Chancellor Zhang studied him for a long moment, then stood and walked to the communications panel. She activated the system for a planet-wide broadcast that would reach every human settlement in the solar system. People of Earth and her colonies, she began, her voice steady and clear. Today we face a defining moment for our species. For the first time, we have been asked by a powerful galactic authority to turn away those in need or face serious consequences. She looked directly at Kelvash as she continued. Throughout human history, we have too often made the wrong choice when faced with such decisions. We have too often let fear overrule compassion. Today we have a chance to do better. She squared her shoulders and delivered her decision. Earth formally grants asylum to the Zathuri people. We reject the Concordance's demands and their outdated prejudice. If standing with the persecuted means standing alone, then humanity will proudly stand apart. As the broadcast ended, the room remained silent until Elena began to applaud, quickly joined by others. Kelvash's crystals glowed brighter than anyone had yet seen, the light spreading through his entire body in waves of blue and silver. Outside the conference room, the news spread quickly through the colony. Humans and Zathuri gathered in the main plaza, uncertainty and hope mingling as they looked to the stars, wondering what humanity's defiance of the galactic order would mean for them all. The icy surface of Europa gleamed under the distant sun, its cracked surface hiding an ocean beneath. 6 months had passed since Earth's defiant stand against the Galactic Concordance, and humanity had not been idle during that time. Massive construction ships hovered over selected areas of Jupiter's moon, their work lights illuminating the frozen landscape as teams of humans in specialized suits moved across the surface. Inside the newly constructed command center, Dr. Maya Wong studied the readouts on her tablet. The medical officer from the Hermes had volunteered to lead the biological integration team for what had become known as Operation Safe Haven, humanity's ambitious plan to create a permanent home for the Zathuri refugees. The temperature regulation system is operating within parameters, she reported to the holographic images of Captain Elena Reyes and Elder Kelvash. The crystal resonance chambers are growing exactly as designed. Elena nodded with satisfaction. The defense grid is also complete. If the Concordance decides to move beyond economic sanctions, they'll find Europa well protected. Since Earth's decision to grant asylum to the Zathuri, the Concordance had imposed harsh trade restrictions. As promised, several planned collaborative projects with Concordance worlds had been cancelled, and human ships were denied docking privileges at established alien stations. Despite these challenges, Earth had remained firm in its commitment. Your people continue to amaze us, Kelvash said, his crystal structures now fully healed and glowing with healthy light. In the time it would take the Concordance to merely debate a proposal, you have created a world for us. The decision to use Europa as the Zathuri settlement had been a stroke of genius from Dr. Amir Hassan. His research had revealed that the Zathuri's crystalline biology actually thrived in cold, high-pressure environments. Europa, with its icy surface and subsurface ocean, was perfect. Human engineering had created habitats that matched the Zathuri's needs while allowing for interaction between the species. The first residential pods are ready for occupation, Maya continued. We can begin moving the first families next week. And the communications barrier? Elena asked. Maya smiled. That's the best news. The crystal computing interfaces are working perfectly. The Zathuri engineers have successfully adapted their technology to be compatible with ours without triggering any data corruption. This had been the greatest challenge, finding a way for the Zathuri to use their advanced crystal-based technology without risking the data plague that had caused their exile. The solution had come through collaboration. Zathuri crystal engineers, working alongside human computer scientists, had created a new hybrid system that maintained quantum isolation while allowing information exchange. There has been another development, Kelvash said, his light pattern shifting to indicate seriousness. One of our young ones, Takali, has created something I believe you should experience. Later that day, a small group gathered in one of the completed habitat domes on Europa. The transparent ceiling showed the massive form of Jupiter hanging in the black sky, its swirling storms creating a backdrop of orange and cream. The interior of the dome was designed to accommodate both species, standard furniture and environments, for humans alongside crystal-growing chambers and pressure pools for the Zathuri. In the center of the gathering stood Takali, a young Zathuri female, whose crystal formations were smaller but more intricately patterned than the elders. She appeared nervous, her inner light flickering rapidly. Among my people, she explained through her translator, we once had a tradition of crystal resonance, what you might call music. For generations this art was lost as we focused only on survival, but since finding sanctuary with humans I have been experimenting. She stepped into a circular area marked on the floor. Around her, crystal structures of varying sizes had been arranged in a pattern. Takali raised her arms and began to move slowly. As her body's natural luminescence pulsed, the crystals around her responded, creating overlapping tones that filled the air. The sound was unlike anything the humans had heard before, haunting, complex harmonies that seemed to vibrate through their bodies rather than just reaching their ears. As the performance continued, images began to form in the air above Takali. Light, projections created by the interaction of her bioluminescence and the crystals. The images told a story: the Zathuri's exile, their years of wandering, the rejection they faced, and finally, their rescue by humans. The final image showed two figures, one human, one Zathuri, standing together beneath a starry sky. When Takali finished, there was silence, then enthusiastic applause from the humans present. Many had tears in their eyes. That was extraordinary, Amir said, his voice thick with emotion. What do you call this art form? In our old language it was called Cathal Marin, memory in light, Takali explained. I call this piece the End of Exile. Within weeks, recordings of Takali's performance had spread throughout human territories. The haunting crystal music and the story it told helped change public perception of the Zathuri. What had begun as a controversial political decision to grant asylum became a cultural movement. Human artists began collaborating with Zathuri creators, leading to new forms of expression that neither species could have created alone. On Europa, the settlement grew rapidly. The first Zathuri families moved into their new homes, many expressing wonder at having solid ground beneath their feet after generations born and raised on ships. The crystal chambers thrived in Europa's environment, growing faster and stronger than expected. Zathuri engineers taught humans about navigation techniques using crystal resonance that allowed for more precise jumps through space. In return, human doctors helped develop treatments for conditions that had plagued the Zathuri during their long exile. Admiral Chen's regular security briefings remained the only shadow over the project. The Concordance ships maintained their position at the edge of the solar system, neither advancing nor retreating. Intelligence sources reported heated debates within the Concordance Council, with some members questioning the centuries-old policy regarding the Zathuri, while others called for stricter measures against Earth. They're divided on how to respond. To us, Chen explained during a secured transmission to Chancellor Zhang. Our defiance wasn't in their playbook. It seems no one has stood up to them like this before. Then perhaps it was long overdue, Zhang replied. Continue the development of Europa. If the Concordance wants to talk, we'll listen. If they want to threaten, we'll stand firm. As the first Earth year of the Zathuri settlement drew to a close, a celebration was held in the central dome of what was now called Harmony City. Humans and Zathuri gathered together, sharing food, music, and stories. Tikali performed a new piece, this one showing possible futures of cooperation and growth. No one could have predicted that at that very moment, on a concordance world thousands of light years away, the first signs of a new technological plague were beginning to appear. One that would soon test the newfound alliance between humans and the once shunned Zathuri in ways they could not imagine. The communications hub on Luna Colony was one of humanity's most advanced facilities, a massive complex of dishes and quantum receivers that maintained contact with all human settlements throughout the solar system. Tonight, however, it was eerily silent. Engineers worked frantically at control panels as warning lights flashed across the main display. Try another reset of the main array, Chief Engineer Patel ordered, his voice tense. And someone get me a direct line to Europa. The system-wide crash had begun 12 hours earlier with small glitches, delayed messages, corrupted data packets, and strange interference patterns. Within hours, it had cascaded into a complete failure of the primary communications network. Only emergency backup systems remained operational. On Earth, Chancellor Zhang received the reports with growing concern. This wasn't the first such incident in recent months. 3 separate colonies had experienced similar technological failures, each one blamed on the presence of the Zathuri on Europa. Anti-alien protests had broken out in several major cities, with demonstrators demanding the refugees be sent away before they infected all human systems. The timing is suspicious, Admiral Chen noted during an emergency council meeting. These failures began shortly after Concordance representatives were allowed to visit our Mars colony as a diplomatic gesture. Are you suggesting sabotage? Zhang asked. I'm suggesting we consider all possibilities, Chen replied carefully. The Concordance has much to gain if public opinion turns against the Zathuri. On Europa, the situation was equally tense. Captain Elena Reyes, now serving as governor of the joint human-Zathuri settlement, faced angry representatives from both species in her office. 3 human technicians were assaulted today, reported Security Chief Diaz. The attackers called them alien lovers and claimed they were helping spread the tech plague. And 2 of our young ones were refused treatment at the medical center, added Elder Tilara, her light patterns showing distress. The human doctor said we were too dangerous to touch. Elena rubbed her temples tiredly. This is exactly what the Concordance wants, to divide us against each other. She activated her communication panel. Dr. Hassan, I need you and your team in my office immediately. Amir arrived with Tikali and a small group of human and Zathuri engineers who had been working together on the crystal computing project. We've been analyzing the communication failures, Amir reported. There's something odd about the pattern of corruption in the data. Tikali stepped forward, her crystals glowing with excitement despite the tense situation. The errors are not random. They follow a specific sequence, one that is similar to, but distinctly different from, the data plague that was once attributed to our people. Different how? Elena asked. It's more sophisticated, one of the human engineers explained. Almost as if someone studied the original plague and created an improved version, or as if the real creators of the original plague have returned, Tikali added quietly. The implications hung heavy in the air. If Tikali was right, then the current attacks on human systems were not caused by the Zathuri at all, but by whoever had originally weaponized them centuries ago. We need proof, Elena said firmly. Without hard evidence, rumors and fear will continue to spread. Tikali's lights pulsed rapidly. There may be a way. Our crystal structures can detect quantum anomalies. It's why we were targeted for modification. In the first place, if we could examine an affected system directly. The plan came together quickly, A team including Amir, Takali, and several specialists would travel to Luna to investigate the communications hub crash. But when news of this mission reached Earth, it sparked immediate backlash. "You want to bring them directly to our primary communications facility?" an Earth counselor demanded during an emergency session. "This is exactly what they want. Access to our most sensitive systems." Chancellor Zhang remained calm despite the outburst. "If the Zathuri are responsible, then we need to know. If they are being framed, we need to know that too. The team will be closely monitored at all times." The journey to Luna was tense. The small ship carrying the investigation team was met in orbit by protesters in maintenance craft who tried to block their landing. Security forces had to clear a path for them to reach the surface. Inside the communications hub, Chief Engineer Patel greeted them with obvious suspicion. "My staff will observe everything you do," he warned. "Any unauthorized access to our systems will result in immediate arrest." Takali seemed unfazed by the hostility. Working methodically alongside Amir, she began examining the corrupted systems. Her crystal formations glowed with an intense blue light as she placed her hands near, but not touching, the main quantum processor. "There," she said after several hours of careful investigation. "I can sense it. A quantum signature embedded in the corruption cascade. It's familiar." Using specialized equipment they had brought from Europa, the team isolated the signature. A specific pattern of quantum entanglement that was invisible to standard human detection systems, but could be perceived by the Zathuri's crystalline senses. "This is not our doing," Takali explained to the increasingly interested human engineers. "This pattern matches records from our archives, from before our exile. It belongs to a species known as the Vextor." The name sent a shock through the room. Vextor, the same as the lead Concordance ambassador who had threatened Earth after they granted asylum to the Zathuri. Working together, the human and Zathuri engineers developed a countermeasure, a crystal-based quantum firewall that could detect and neutralize the corruption. When implemented, the communications hub systems began to recover immediately. "The signature is confirmed," Amir reported to Chancellor Zhang via the now functioning emergency channel. "We've found identical patterns in the logs from the other system failures. This was a deliberate attack made to look like it came from the Zathuri. The evidence was irrefutable." Using the Zathuri's unique ability to detect quantum anomalies, the team created a comprehensive security protocol that protected human systems from further attacks. When the truth spread throughout human territories, public opinion dramatically shifted. Across Earth and its colonies, protests against the Zathuri turned into demonstrations of solidarity. Human citizens began to question the Concordance's centuries-long persecution of the refugees. Takali's crystal music performances were broadcast system-wide, further strengthening the cultural bond between the species. On Europa, Elena received a priority communication from Admiral Chen. "The Concordance representatives have suddenly requested to leave the solar system," Chen reported, unable to hide his satisfaction. "Their ships are already preparing for departure." "Running away now that they've been caught," Elena said. "Perhaps," Chen replied, his expression growing serious. "Or perhaps preparing for something worse. Our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity in several Concordance systems. Something big is happening out there." As the immediate crisis passed, humanity and the Zathuri found themselves more united than ever. The xenophobia that had threatened to divide them had instead forged a stronger bond. Human artists, scientists, and ordinary citizens began an interstellar transmission campaign, sharing stories of cooperation and redemption with any worlds willing to listen. But in the darkness between the stars, the Concordance ships retreated with unusual haste. Their departing transmissions, when decoded by Zathuri specialists, contained a single cryptic message: "The awakening has begun." No one yet understood what this meant, but soon, both humanity and the Zathuri would face a threat that would make their current troubles seem trivial by comparison. 10 years had passed since humanity first encountered the Zathuri. Europa had transformed from a hastily constructed refugee settlement into a thriving, beautiful city where crystalline structures merged seamlessly with human architecture. The joint human-Zathuri society had flourished despite their isolation from the wider galactic community. Their crystal-based quantum computing had advanced beyond anything either species could have created alone. Takali, once a young artist, experimenting with forgotten crystal resonance, was now Ambassador Tikali, a respected leader among both humans and Zathuri. She stood in the observation dome of Europa's capital city, gazing at the massive form of Jupiter filling the sky when an urgent message came through. "Ambassador, your presence is requested in the emergency council chamber immediately," the voice of her assistant said. "Chancellor Zhang has arrived from Earth with critical news." The council chamber was already filled when Takali arrived. Former Captain Elena Reyes, now Governor of Europa, sat beside Chancellor Zhang. Dr. Amir Hassan and several other human and Zathuri leaders were present, their expressions grave. "3 days ago we received this transmission," Chancellor Zhang said without preamble. She activated the central display showing a distorted image of a concordance representative. Not Vex Tor, but a species Takali didn't recognize. "People of Earth," the alien began, its voice translated automatically. "The concordance faces an unprecedented crisis. Our central systems are degrading at an accelerating rate. The technology plague that once struck our worlds has returned, more virulent than before. Our best efforts to contain it have failed." The alien paused, its expression showing what might be shame. "We request Earth's assistance in this matter. Your unique relationship with the Zathuri has given you insights we lack. We are prepared to offer significant concessions in exchange for help." Chancellor Zhang turned off the display. "We've received similar messages from 12 different concordance worlds in the past week. The plague is spreading rapidly through their systems. Several of their central planets are already experiencing complete technological collapse." "The irony is almost poetic," Elena said, her voice hard. "They shunned the Zathuri for centuries over fear of a plague, and now they face the real thing." Tikali's crystals dimmed slightly. "What do they mean by concessions?" "Full diplomatic recognition of Earth as a sovereign power," Zhang replied. "Trade agreements, technology exchange, and, most significantly, formal acknowledgement of the Zathuri as an innocent party in the original plague. They're offering to rescind the exile order that has stood for over 2 centuries. The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. After years of isolation and economic sanctions, Earth was being offered full entry into the galactic community. All they had to do was help the very organization that had threatened them. Elder Kelvash, now frail but still respected for his wisdom, spoke from his seat. "What does Earth wish to do?" Chancellor Zhang looked around the room. "I believe we should help them, not for the concessions, but because it's the right thing to do. However, this decision affects the Zathuri most of all. The choice must be yours as well." Takali and the other Zathuri leaders conferred briefly, their light patterns communicating complex emotions that no translation could fully capture. "We will help," Takali announced finally. "The cycle of blame and suffering must end somewhere. Let it end with us." Within days, a joint human Zathuri team had assembled on Europa. Led by Amir and Takali, they included the best scientists and engineers from both species. Their crystal-based quantum computing systems, immune to the degradation affecting the concordance, allowed them to analyze the plague from a safe distance. "It's definitely related to the original plague that was blamed on the Zathuri," Amir reported after their initial analysis. "But it's been modified, enhanced. This isn't a natural evolution. Someone designed this." "The Vextor?" Elena suggested. Takali shook her head, her crystals flashing with certainty. "No, this is different, older, more sophisticated. I believe it's from the same source as the original modification of our people." The team worked day and night, developing a countermeasure based on the crystal harmonizer technology that had protected the Zathuri for generations. When it was ready, they traveled to the nearest affected concordance world, a planet called Nexus that served as a major trading hub. The devastation was shocking. Once gleaming cities lay in darkness, their advanced systems completely non-functional. Millions of beings from dozens of species struggled without the technology they had relied on for generations. When the Earth ships landed, they were met with a mixture of desperation and lingering suspicion. A Concordance official greeted them. "You actually came," he said, sounding surprised. "Many believed you would leave us to suffer as punishment for our treatment of the Zathuri." "Then you still don't understand humans or Zathuri," Takali replied simply. Working system by system, the joint team began healing the technological plague. Each success brought new requests for help from other worlds. As they traveled deeper into Concordance territory, they uncovered more clues about the source of the infection. "These data fragments are revealing a pattern," Amir explained during a briefing. "The plague isn't random, it's targeting specific types of systems in a specific sequence, almost as if it's searching for something." On the Concordance homeworld, they finally gained access to ancient records that had been sealed for centuries. What they found confirmed Takali's suspicions and revealed a truth more disturbing than anyone had imagined. The original genetic modification of the Zathuri was done by the founders of the Concordance themselves, she announced to the assembled representatives of Earth and the Concordance. They were attempting to create a defense against a threat they encountered at the edge of the galaxy, an ancient machine intelligence that had destroyed several early colonies. The evidence was irrefutable. The founders had modified the Zathuri without their knowledge, attempting to use their natural crystalline biology as a weapon against the machine intelligence. When the experiment failed and caused the first plague, they blamed the victims rather than admit their actions. "And now the real enemy has returned," Amir concluded. "The plague spreading through your systems isn't random. It's a directed attack by the same machine intelligence. It's searching your databases, looking for information about the weapon that was used against it before." "The weapon being us," Takali added quietly. "My people." The revelation sent shockwaves through the Concordance leadership. Centuries of prejudice and fear had been based on a lie, and now the real threat was at their doorstep. As the final Concordance systems were stabilized using the crystal-based countermeasures, a historic meeting took place. For the first time, the Zathuri were formally welcomed into the Galactic Council chamber not as outcasts but as saviors. The exile order was publicly rescinded, replaced with an official apology that was broadcast to every world in Concordance space. "Today marks a new beginning," the High Chancellor of the Concordance announced. "The wrongs of the past cannot be undone, but we can forge a better future together." Takali, standing as the official representative of her people, accepted the apology with dignity. The Zathuri joined this council not seeking vengeance for past injustice, but looking toward a future where understanding replaces fear. After the ceremony, Takali met privately with Chancellor Zhang and the Earth delegation. "Our scientists have analyzed all the data," Zhang said gravely. "The machine intelligence is still out there at the edge of explored space, and it's heading inward." Takali nodded, her crystals glowing with resolve. "Then we will face it together, no longer as the shunned but as equals. Humanity taught us that compassion can overcome prejudice. Now we will take that lesson to the stars." 1 month later, a new fleet departed from Earth's solar system, the first joint human Zathuri defense force officially recognized by the Concordance. At its heart was the flagship Unity, commanded by Admiral Elena Reyes with Ambassador Takali as her second-in-command. As the fleet prepared to jump to its first destination, Takali addressed the crew from the main deck. "Once shunned, now we stand as guardians. Once broken, now we are whole. Not despite humanity's intervention, but because of it. Together we will write a new history among the stars." With those words, the Unity led the fleet into the unknown, carrying with them the hope of a galaxy that had finally learned that strength comes not from fear and division, but from compassion and unity. The end.